Number 34 says Fred's teacher gave this quadratic function. It says to state two methods. Literally, all you have to do is state for this section, just state either two of those. So if you would have wrote factoring and complete the square, you would have gotten 2 points for this question. You just stated two examples. By using one of the methods, solve for f of x, I am going to choose to use the quadratic formula. A is 4. Here's my formula. A is 4, B is 16, and C is 9. This value is always your A. The number in front of your x is your B, and then the number without any variable is your C. So now I'm going to plug all these in and simplify. Plugged all these values in, I get negative 16 plus or minus 256 minus 144. 2 times 4 is 8. So I have negative 16 plus or minus, this is the square root of 112 over 8. So what this means is you have two answers. You have negative 16 plus square root of 112 all over 8, and you have negative 16 minus the square root of 112 over 8. I'm going to plug both of these into my calculator. Because people forget to close their parentheses, I would do the numerator first and then divide by 8. It says they want their answers rounded to the nearest tenth, so rounding to the nearest tenth, I get negative 0.7. Doing the same thing, negative 16 minus the square root of 112, and then dividing by 8, I get about negative 3.3. For number 35, you're given this data and they want you to state the linear regression function. So what I have to do is put all this information into my stat. This is going to be L1 and this is going to be L2. This is your X and this is your Y. Go to stat, enter on edit. I've already typed in all of my information. Now what I'm going to do is go back to my home screen by hitting second mode, which quits my screen. I'm going to go to stat, I'm going to go over to calculate, hit enter on linear regression, hit enter, and then I come up with this information. It says to round all values to the nearest integer, so we're going to say this is the linear regression. So if my A value is negative 58.26, I'm going to say negative 58x. An integer is a positive or negative whole number. My B value is 6,182 rounded to the nearest integer. The second part says state the correlation coefficient. They even tell you where to look to the nearest hundredth. Does it indicate a strong relationship between the variables? Explain your reasoning. Well, in general, R is the correlation coefficient. It tells us how close the scatter plot is to the line of best fit. The closer to 1 or negative 1, the more correlated the data is. So on our calculator, our R value is negative 0.94. That's rounded to the nearest hundredth. Does it indicate a strong linear relationship? And the answer is yes, because it's very close to negative 1. Being close to negative 1 means it's a negative correlation. And if it was close to positive 1, it'd be a strong positive correlation. Number 36, a contractor has 48 meters of fencing that he's going to use as the perimeter of a rectangular garden. The length of one side is represented by X, and the area of the garden is 108 square meters. So we know the area can be found with length times width, and the perimeter, which is basically telling you he has 48 meters of fencing to put around, is going to be 2L plus 2W. It says one side of this garden is going to be X. If you ask me, that's kind of a silly step, but we're going to call this the length, and we're going to call this X. we know the area is 108. So we're going to say the area is 108. I just call W X. Now the perimeter has to be 48 meters around. So the perimeter is going to be 48, and then I'm going to change that to X. So what you have here is a system of equations that you have to solve. I would recommend doing this by substitution. So if I subtract 2L, you get 48 minus 2L equals 2X. Divide by 2, you get X is 24 minus L. What I will do now is substitute this in for that X. Here's your first equation, and here is your second equation. This is a system of equations problem. Usually you're looking to substitute into the other one. After I substitute 24 minus L in for X, this is what I have, and now I am going to distribute, and I get 24L minus L squared. This is a quadratic equation. I'm going to move all of my terms to the left, mainly because that's negative. You have L squared minus 24L plus 108 equals 0. So then I could factor this and say L minus 18 and L minus 6 equals 0. Set both of these equal to 0. Solve for L. I get L equals 18. Add 6. L equals 6. So if my length is 18, that means my width is 6. Those are your dimensions of the garden. So in this case, you have to say the dimensions are 18 by 6 meters. I consider this to be a pretty challenging question.